Hello again. This is the third of 5 videos where we're reading a story called Roman Rescue. Each day we're reading a chapter of the story and then we're working on some reading skills. I'll be asking you some questions. If you'd like to write your answers down, you could use some paper or download the activity sheet included in the resource pack. If you've been reading along with me so far, I'd like you to pause the video now and think about, or you could tell someone, what you can remember about the story so far. So, in this story we meet the characters Tilda and Charlie, who live with their parents above an antique shop. The house was filled with clutter and artifacts, and the last room to sort out is the attic. Tilda and Charlie make their way up to the attic, expecting to find another room full of antiques. They are surprised to find the attic full of nothing. They then explore the empty room, and Charlie finds a hidden trapdoor in the floorboards. Carefully opening the trapdoor, they find what looks to be a hidden room, and this one is not empty. Today we will be reading chapter 3 and finding out what's in this secret room. I'll be asking you some questions about the story too. Some of these questions you will retrieve from the text. Some of the questions we will look at the skill of inferring. This is where the information isn't directly given in the text. You infer when you use evidence from the text to reach conclusions. You're going to be a bit like a detective looking for clues in the text. So let's start reading chapter 3. And if we can see, chapter 3 is called Trapdoor Treasure Trove. It's a good bit of alliteration. The day had just become way more interesting, sending Tilda's emotions on a roller coaster ride from deep disappointment back to white-knuckle excitement. Following her brother, Tilda was surprised to find that the underfloor shaft actually contained a second ladder. It was identical in size to the first, but angled in the opposite direction, up towards the hidden room. Even before she began climbing the second set of rungs, she knew that the secret room would be nothing like the attic. She could smell the difference. The air was thick and with the scent of history. The antique shop below them had a similar smell. Occasional wafts of slowly decaying wood and fabrics, ancient fermenting polish and water-damaged paper gradually decomposing. Yet those smells were modern compared with the cocktail of odours that seemed to form a barrier between the secret room and the rest of the world. This was the scent of ancient artifacts, spewing fragrances that didn't belong in the 21st century. You have got to see this. Charlie had already scaled the second ladder and was now kneeling on the floor of the secret room. It's like some kind of vault. Excitement sent giddy butterflies fluttering in Tilda's stomach. As she scrambled to join her brother, the sights that greeted her struck like a freeze ray. Charlie had been wrong. This wasn't a vault at all. This was more like a treasure chamber. Wow. Told you. Charlie giggled. This lot must be worth a fortune. The room itself was larger than Tilda had expected, perhaps even longer and wider than the family's garage. Yet it was so jam-packed with clutter that there was barely enough room for 2 people. A small desk and chair had been pushed into one corner, piled high with ledgers and thick scrolls. Wooden trunks and chests, mostly studded with iron bands and rivets, were stacked in the remaining corners. Yet it was the room's walls that entranced Tilda. They were a kaleidoscope of treasures, reaching forward from centuries past to create the most incredible mural. Her eyes could barely take it all in. Beautiful portraits and landscape paintings hung in carved golden frames across one entire surface. Opposite, chainmail shirts, leather jerkins and bronze chest plates watched from the wall like soldiers waiting for battle. Another wall housed heaving shelves piled high with leather-bound books, wax-sealed folders wrapped in ribbon, and stacks of what looked like parchment. It's incredible. Tilda's heart was racing so hard that she thought it might tear a hole through her chest. Perhaps this was how Howard Carter felt when he crashed through the wall of Tutankhamun's tomb. Above her, Charlie plucked a musket from a ceiling hook and peered down its barrel. "Do you think this thing is loaded?" Tilda snatched it from him and clambered up into the room. The weapon felt heavy in her hand. The wooden stock had the shape and smoothness that only real fingers could forge. "We shouldn't touch any of these things," Tilda said, carefully placing the musket back into its hook. Beside it, a collection of sheathed swords and rifles. Right, I'm going to stop reading there, and I'm going to ask you some questions about the pages that we've just read. And we're going to try practicing using our inference skills with this first question. Question number 1, to write down your answer or say your answer. Question 1, how is Tilda feeling on page 18? Use evidence from the text to say why you think this. Pause now and write down your answer. Okay, so you might have said that Tilda feels excited on page 18. If we were retrieving that answer from the text, it would say in the text something like, Tilda felt excited. The author does not tell us directly on page 18 how Tilda feels, but they do give us lots of clues. To explain your answer, you might have said, I think she feels excited because it says that her heart was beating so fast that she thought it might tear a hole in her chest. It also tells us in the text that Tilda considers that she's feeling might be similar to how Howard Carter felt when he opened up Tutankhamun's tomb. So this would have been a feeling of excitement. And also, perhaps a feeling of amazement at seeing great treasures. Okay, here's question 2. And again, it's using page 18. The musket appears to be a genuine musket. What information in the text on page 18 helps you to infer that it is real rather than a fake weapon? Pause the video now and write down your answer. Okay, the text says that the musket was heavy. It also says the wooden stock had the shape and smoothness that only real fingers could forge. This all helps us to infer that it was a genuine musket. Okay, let's read on. Beside it, a collection of sheathed swords and rifles hung like macabre stalactites. But they're ours now, Charlie pointed out. Mum and Dad bought the house and all its contents, and this looks a lot like contents to me. But they don't belong here, Tilda warned him. This kind of stuff should be in a museum. This is real history. Do you think it was Professor Howe's personal collection? Dunno. Tilda squeezed past her brother, heading for the desk and chair. For some reason, she couldn't shake the feeling they were trespassing. Maybe there's something over here that can tell us more. Seated at the small desk, Tilda carefully began searching the stacks of papers and ledgers for some kind of clue. She tried not to think about the items she was touching. Most were handwritten in ink, scratched across hard paper that must have been made centuries earlier. Some of the ledgers appeared even older, written in languages she couldn't even begin to decode. Yet one item stood out like a rose in a bed of dandelions, a journal so new it almost glowed. When she opened it up and began to read the neatly arranged handwriting, her jaw slowly dropped open. What is it? Charlie leaned over his sister's shoulder. What does it say? Tilda shook her head. This certainly wasn't what she had expected to find. Either he was writing some kind of fantasy novel, or Professor Howe had gone a bit bonkers. As she ventured deeper and deeper into the professor's journal, the content became stranger and stranger. None of this makes sense. He's talking about hunting for treasure by going back in time. Look! She jabbed at a page of writing. He mentions the musket you showed me, says he stole it from a soldier during the English Civil War. She turned back a few pages and next pointed to a paragraph of text. And here he says one of those dueling swords was given to him as a gift by a 15th century nobleman. Charlie sniggered. Maybe he didn't disappear at all. Maybe he got a job as a Hollywood scriptwriter. Sounds like it would make an awesome sci-fi movie. Tilda turned through more of the journal's pages, causing a loose sheet to drop onto the floor. Charlie stooped to pluck it off the ground. Hey, what's this? They both stared at a strip of tightly folded paper. 2 words were written neatly across the front. Access gates. Why would Professor Howard have a leaflet about gates, Charlie wondered. This house doesn't even have a garden. Tilda snatched the leaflet from her brother. Gate is just another word for a door, silly. Ancient cities like York had doors around the city walls to keep people out. They called them gates. Ah, I see. So that's why you get places like Micklegate and Fishergate. Exactly, Tilda nodded. Maybe this is just a map of all those ancient gates. She gently cleared an area of space on the desktop and slowly unfolded the leaflet. Section by section, a map showing the streets of York emerged. Yet this wasn't quite the kind of map Tilda had expected to see. Not one of the city's famous gates was included. Instead, the detailed sketch showed York's modern-day streets and roads, many leading to and from a collection of historic sites. The medieval minster, Viking encampments, the first Roman settlements, a Norman garrison, even places Tudor kings had once called home. The map contained a score of different locations, each marked and identified by its own neatly drawn door. Beside many of these doors sat a series of dates and tiny icons in the shape of a key. 1 or 2 even had the universally recognised sign of danger, a skull and crossbones. What do you think it means? Charlie asked. Tilda kept gazing at the map, looking from one door to the next, hoping to see a pattern. Finally, she spotted something she recognised. Turning back to the professor's journal, she flipped through its pages until she found the one she was looking for. Okay, I'm going to stop just there and I'm going to ask you some more questions. Now, let's see if we can retrieve some answers from the text. That means that the answer will be in the text and you're going to need to look for it. Question 3. If you'd like to write your answer down. What had Tilda expected to see on the map? If you can find your answer on page 22. What had Tilda expected to see on the map? Okay, so your answer could have been something like this. Tilda had expected to see the famous gates of York on the map. Okay, question 4. You're going to write your answer down. Name 3 historical sites in York that were found on the map. And use page 22 again. Name 3 historical sites in York that were found on the map. Okay, the answer are just here. So you could have written down the medieval minster, Viking encampments, the first Roman settlements, that would be 3. Or you could have written a Roman garrison, or you could have written even places Tudor kings had once called home. Right, I'm going to finish reading the chapter now. As her finger pressed against a date scribbled on the map, she compared it to the one at the top of the journal page. They matched. She checked several more, finding identical matches too. Suddenly, Tilda understood how the 2 documents worked together. The buzz of solving that particular puzzle made her wonder if she was perhaps more suited to a career as a detective than an antique dealer. This can't be possible, she told Charlie. It has to be made up. Her brother's puzzled expression prompted more explanation. These dates all match the detailed entries in the professor's journal, and each entry talks about a single trip he made on that day. Now Charlie looked even more puzzled. What's so unusual about that? Everyone takes trips. Not trips like these, Tilda insisted. These are trips back in time. Okay, that's the end of chapter 3. There are more questions and activities that you can do after the video. Just click the link in the description below to see what they are. Join me next time in chapter 4, where we'll be learning how the author's choice of words and phrases enhance the meaning of the text. Goodbye.